go ahead and tell me your first name, the date, the location, and what happened.
All right. My name is Robert. It happened in Peach Orchard, Kentucky, which is close to Inez. We was kids. We usually have about 15, 16 people at our house every summer, family reunion, stuff like that. We was all having dinner. I was 11 years old about the time. Then we got dinner ready and everybody started playing music. And then next thing I know, our dog started making a big growling sound. I ran outside and there it stood at the window looking inside the window on our back of our house. Well, my grandmother comes outside. She says, "What is that?" I said, "It's a big old hairy man." And she said, "What?" I said, "It's a hairy man standing at the window." So she ended up, "Come on and get back in the house." So we come back in the house and it left. Well, the next day, we had a pig farm, or a pig pen behind our house, about 100 yards from it, and you can see where it went back there and laid down for the night, I guess, because it was all the stuff was going on. And the next day, we went back there and looked for it, and we could not find it after that. But then, when I was about 20, 21 years old, I had another encounter. It was in Paintsville, outside Oil Springs. I was at Oil Springs cutting down oil tanks. I was walking out, and I had something follow me off out of the hills. Well, he was walking in the woods, and I was walking on the road. But every time I would stop, it would stop, and then it would start walking when I would start walking. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was scary at the time.
Your first report, you said, was around 1979.
Yes.
And you saw the creature looking in the house, a window?
Yes.
Was the window in the back of the house, front, side?
It was on the back of the house. It was like on the edge. It was on the side of the house, up on the. It was tall at the time because we didn't have the porch on it at the time. It was probably about 8 foot off the ground, 8 foot, 9 foot.
And how far was it from you, would you say?
I'd say at least 50 foot from our house.
Did it look at you when you looked at it?
Yes, it looked at me and it just stood there and looked.
Could you see any details?
Not really. It's just like it was standing there. It was black, but it had, like it was big and wide with arms, hanging down to the side, just looking.
Was there any lighting out there?
The only lighting was coming through the window on it,
okay.
But you could see it.
It was hair.
Yeah, it was hair.
Did somebody else see it too, or just you?
My grandmother.
So she walked outside, you said?
Yeah, she walked outside and she said, "What is it?" And I said, "It's a big old hairy man." And she said, "Well, let's get back inside," because they noted at the time what it was. As a kid, we didn't know what it was.
Then anybody talk about it afterwards?
Oh yeah, it was called. We talked about it all the time. We've always. That's only the first time of it, and then I guess it would stay around the house for a while, like up in the hills, because we had caves and stuff up at the time.
Yeah.
And we would go up in there, and you could hear the whooping sounds and the screams and stuff like that when we was growing up. But other than that, that's the only thing we've done with it.
And then the second encounter near Paintsville, you mentioned earlier, it did make a vocal first.
Yes, it made a whooping sound.
Whoop. So you heard the whoop.
Yeah.
You were walking out at night by yourself.
Yeah, it was probably about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and it made a whoop, and I'm like, this is not good. And I started to walk a little further away from the hillside, and as I walked, it was walking with me. And as I stopped, when it stopped, I'm like, yeah, this is not right. So I ended up walking a little further. And then when I got to the top of the hill, I took off running because I didn't know what it was. I didn't want to find out what it was.
Yeah. And you talked about it. It wasn't a deer. It was too big.
Yeah, it was no deer. It was too big, too heavy sound, breaking the limbs as it stepped on the tree branches as it fell off the trees.
Right. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing those stories.
All right, thank you.